Hi everyone, this is Arthur Hayes. I'm the co-founder and CEO of BitMEX, and welcome to the Asia Blockchain Summit of 2019.
Hi guys, this is Joyce from Global Coin Research. I'm here with BlockTempo Live at Asia Blockchain Summit with Arthur Hayes. We're very excited to have him here. We just came out of a great debate with Arthur and Norio Vini, and there was a lot to talk about there. And my takeaway was that Norio was seriously just shitting on a lot of, sorry, excuse my language, on TV, but he was really just highlighting the fact that there was so much shit coins in this space and that a lot of retail folks are getting hurt. And that was his main premise that I heard kind of over and over again. Is that, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was a broken record. He kept talking about the shit coins. He seemed to be very knowledgeable about all of the different coins that exist in this industry for somebody who thinks they're all going to zero. So something kind of tells you that he might be a bag holder, very secretively.
Very secretively, right? I think that's a lot of good folks who are in the space who really shit on the, I'm very contaminated by this shit word as well because of the fact that he's been using it at least 10 times in this debate. But at the same time, I think, because we're in such an early industry and such a nascent space, and because the space is so decentralized, you just naturally attract a lot of bad actors.
Well, I don't think it's even that bad, right? If you think about a regular startup company, 90 to 95% of all new businesses fail within the first 5 years. So why do you think that just because you put a white paper on the internet and you have a blockchain or some sort of cryptographic element to your startup, that you're no different than the average? So the fact that most of these things are worthless just is with the trend of all new businesses and technologies.
I agree. And so generally we agree that there are a lot of poor quality folks and companies who are in the space, but as long as we drive them out and actually draw in the good actors, we should be fine.
And the price in the markets and the free market will allow the driftwood to drift away.
Right. What I always thought was interesting is that the volatility is something you see in nascent markets, such as in China when there's an A-shares and H-share market, that you are very well aware given that your finance background that we both share. And still even now the government has to intervene whenever the volatility gets so serious and people start losing money. But at the same time, that's just the nature of retail markets, right?
Well, I think most governments these days have basically made a determination that the stock market shall never go down. And so whether it's China, the United States, and Europe, whenever the stock market or the equity markets broadly start to fall, they start to print money and they start to do all sorts of actions to inflate their markets, because they want to think they think it's a social good that because you invested in equity, it has to go up, and that has destroyed price discovery and allowed companies to exist and business models to exist which should not exist. And good thing about crypto is because it's a free market, bad ideas become zero very quickly.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think there are a lot of counterintuitive examples such as Tron, but I would just I will stay away from that for now. But at the same time, I think, because it's a free market, there are a lot of opportunities for folks who really want privacy, for example, actually to gain that advantage and have access and avoid capital controls, for example, in China. And we're seeing obviously a lot of volume going up because of the recent crackdowns in Hong Kong and the protests driving that up. Well, that's partially driving the reason. I wouldn't say it's all of the reason, but what do you think about that?
I mean, I think right now it's money printing. The global central banks paused between 2017 and 2019. Balance sheets sort of flatlined, and now you have the Fed, ECB, PBOC, BOJ all talking about restarting some form of quantitative easing. And obviously that's going to lead to all sorts of risky assets going up in price. Bitcoin being one of those, and cryptocurrencies. So as investors globally look around and they see low to negative yields on very safe government bonds, they start to reach out on the risk curve. And if they can't afford a property, or maybe the domestic equity market's too expensive on a PE ratio, crypto starts to look attractive if it's down 80 to 90% over a 2-year period. So money printing lifts all assets, whether it's crypto, stocks and bonds, or real estate, and money will flow to this section of the market if central banks continue to print it.
That's a very, very fair point, and I think a lot of folks don't actually look at the macro environment and generally how the institutions that and kind of the government and the economies that we're in now is kind of in dire situations, and people are really looking forward to this crisis that we have coming out.
At the end of the day, as I said on stage, all we're trying to do is give people a choice. And it's up to them if they want to buy a shitcoin, if they want to buy Bitcoin, if they want to buy a stock or a property or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're not saying you have to purchase any of these assets. It's a choice. And you can see the relevant merits and demerits of any of these technologies and make your own choice if you want to enter this industry.
Right. So BitMEX right now is a centralized exchange. Is there thoughts about actually offering a decentralized offering as well? Because as we spoke on the panel, or at least in the debate, there was a lot of emphasis on privacy as well as holding your own tokens, right?
Right. So I mean that's sort of separate from trading derivatives. Now we're a centralized trading platform.
Right.
Obviously, we need to be very fast. We have leverage. There are all sorts of intricacies that putting this straight onto a blockchain does not make sense at this time.
Right,
now, if you are so hell-bent on decentralization and you're only going to exchange your assets and maybe some sort of financial trading, there are very illiquid, decentralized exchanges. I still don't think that that is desired by traders right now. Now, if you want to hold Bitcoin for its purposes as potential digital money, that's different from your ability to trade it. Now a trader, I don't think really cares about decentralization or centralization. Mm-hmm. They want a fast, cheap way to exchange risk on a market. And so we think that a centralized solution presents the best opportunity for our customers.
Right, that makes complete sense. Is there thoughts of actually offering non-custodial trading for centralized exchanges or for BitMEX specifically?
Because we offer margin trading, well not margin trading, but because we take margin and we have to make sure that if we say you bet 100 Bitcoin and that's your profit, we need to make sure that we can pay that out to you. Yeah. So as soon as we start allowing people to trade on credit or we don't hold the Bitcoin in our control, then we could be fractional and at some point not be able to pay out our customers, and that would be very detrimental to our business. So we're very conservative in that factor. We don't allow clients to, hey, I'm good for it. No, that doesn't work. You either have the Bitcoin in your account for margin or you don't. And if you don't, then you get liquidated.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And we also touched on Libra and the debate as well. And you actually recently written a very extensive post in your newsletter describing your thoughts on Libra and its involvement in the world as well as the governments. Can you give us a quick summary of what?
Sure. So I think Libra essentially is a basket of fiat currencies that is represented in digital form via a token that rides on a permissioned blockchain, which has some sort of nodes. Now, because Facebook has 2 billion active users, they actually control the customer, whereas previously commercial banks controlled the customer. They had all the information about you because they were originating loans, your mortgage, all these sort of things. But now social media companies, because of the wealth of data we share about ourselves to these companies, they know more about us than a financial institution. And we spend more of our time staring at their app than at a physical bank branch. So what I think is that because Facebook and some of these big tech companies have billions of active users, why shouldn't they sell financial products? Because they can originate a loan cheaper than a bank. They have so much free cash flow that they can actually lend off of their own balance sheet without having to borrow money. Right. So they don't need any sort of banking license. All a bank is relegated to is a dumb node that holds fiat currency in electronic form at a central bank, which is what a commercial bank should be relegated to. So in my view, if Libra launches and Facebook rolls us out to Instagram, WhatsApp, and some of their other social media properties, it has the potential to completely disintermediate commercial banks entirely and destroy their revenue-generating possibilities.
So PayPal should be worried, for example.
Well, PayPal is just, PayPal's fucked anyways. I'm more talking about commercial banks.
Right.
Like, why should I go to a Citibank to get a personal loan? Or if I'm on Instagram and I want to buy that sexy bag, Facebook can loan me the money directly at the point of sale and compute a credit score based on my engagement in all of their social media properties. Right. That's where I think we're moving to with Libra. And because it's programmable fiat money, it's possible.
Right. So it's a really great fintech play and a really great user experience potentially for folks who are, who want to buy and get access to payments a lot more quickly and more intuitively. But at the same time, it doesn't sound like it's a cryptocurrency.
Absolutely not. It's definitely not a cryptocurrency. It's definitely centralized, permissioned, and possibly will be censored, because you can believe that if a government wants to stop and protect a potential transaction in Libra, all they have to do is call up Facebook and or not Facebook, but the foundation, and the foundation will comply with that.
Right. And so the thought when I spoke to Facebook was that they were going to slowly move away from the association.
Well, in the document, it states that Facebook, I guess, it is a node, or possibly will be a node, but it doesn't have enough voting power to actually determine the course of what the foundation does, and it sort of makes sense.
Down the road.
Maybe, I don't know. But at the end of the day, if people are really worried about this corporate overlord controlling their financial privacy, that's great for crypto, because that means that they actually value their financial privacy. And what we're seeing out of the whole backlash against Libra and Facebook is that people are starting to recognize that they've been giving away their data for free to all these social media companies who've minted all of these billionaires, and now they want to take back control of their data, and financial privacy is just an offshoot of that movement.
Right, for sure. Definitely, I think in the Western Hemisphere, people echo these thoughts about privacy a lot more than what you see in Asia, for example, where most of the Bitcoin trading, for example, is from speculation, is from kind of escaping their social immobility from their local societies and or governments that they couldn't really move up in the hierarchy of the society. So I always wonder, are we going to see kind of store of value and medium exchange narrative coming out of the Western Hemisphere first, and then kind of the retail folks here will start actually holding on to the Bitcoins.
Well, I mean, I still think let's say China, for them, there are a lot of large holders of Bitcoin, and a lot of the large miners believe, religiously in the properties of Bitcoin and why it's useful to society based on their own personal experiences. So I definitely think that in Asia, a lot of people don't trust the government, even though there might be some sort of centralized one-party state in a lot of countries in this region. The actual everyday people don't trust them because they've been through several iterations of governments over the last 100 years, and they buy gold and they buy property to store their wealth, and they try to hide as much as they can from the authorities. So crypto, if it actually is anonymous. Now, Bitcoin is not. It's definitely pseudonymous, and given the right tools, law enforcement can find out who you are if they try hard enough. Using crypto, it might lead to Bitcoin actually implementing real anonymity into the protocol.
Yeah, for sure. And do you look favorably towards other tokens other than Bitcoin?
I mean, they're trading vehicles. I think if you want to talk about sort of hard digital money, Bitcoin is the only game in town. Now, obviously, other coins and tokens offer other verticals, right? You have sort of the protocol, like smart contracts. You have sort of like file management. You have privacy. All these different verticals, and some of them will be successful, some of them won't be successful. I'm not really super technical into understanding. I'm more of a markets person. Right.
Gotcha. And my last question, I think, would be, for folks who don't know that much about Asia. You've been living in Asia for quite some time, and I live in New York City, but I also fly to Asia all the time because so much happening going on here. What would you kind of advise folks to kind of look at and pay attention to here? Because obviously all the activities here. Look at this conference. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, people need to understand that a lot of people hear about Bitcoin and all these things in Western English language media. So if you don't speak any of the local languages, you most likely have been reading a translated or republished article from a large media organization that's based in U.S. or Western Europe. So obviously they're going to have a bias towards companies and movements in that region, and they're going to feature startups and other personalities in those regions. And that sort of belies all the activity that's happening in Asia because these Western media organizations don't really cover what's going on the ground. Maybe you can read about it in the local press, but that's just not what people are going to see on a international English language speaking level. So there's definitely things happening in Asia. The largest exchanges are based here. The largest miners are based here. Some of the largest projects have developers based in these countries. So if you really care about crypto, go to a meetup in a different country. Get out of your comfort zone.
Right. That's great advice, and I think folks should totally do that. Go to Hong Kong and go visit BitMEX's office in Hong Kong Center because it's a pretty amazing one. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. This is BlockTempo at ABS Summit 2019.